Hi everyone, we're up on top of West Hill in Dorset, overlooking Corfe Castle. Now normally at a location like this, everyone comes up here for the mist. But as you can see by the conditions, we're not going to get that this morning. It's blowing a gale up here, so I've sheltered behind this gorse bush to stay out of the elements as much as possible. So I've got a fairly stable tripod, it's not going to shake. Now the forecast was for clear skies, but our luck is on our side. We've got some clouds, which is great for sunrise. So I'm hoping I've got this beautiful cloud coming up over the castle. Hopefully that's not going to blow out by the time the sun comes up. But as a landscape photographer, you're always adapting to the conditions that you have. So right now, I'm going to show you how to utilize several different lens focal lengths from one position. I'm not going to move from this because of the wind. So I'm going to start with a wide angle lens and then move in gradually to a longer focal length and show you from one spot how many different compositions you can do. So right now I want to get my initial exposure down. So right now I'm shooting at f8. There's no point shooting at a small aperture here. I'm not using any foreground element. So there's no point shooting at f16, f22 because you're just softening the image. And the hillside here drops away just in front of me. So f8 is fine for this. Now the filtration, I'm using a Lee 4-stop. It's a 1.2 hard grad because I've got a huge difference between the foreground and the sky. So this is going to hold back the sky beautifully and balance it with the foreground. So we'll just slot that in there. Now there's a question that I often get on workshops when we're out shooting sunrises. We're pointed directly at the sun and people invariably say, well, shall I use a polarizer? No, not unless you're trying to gain any sort of exposure time, because the polarizer shooting directly into the sun is not going to achieve anything. So a polarizer is only good if it's at a right angle, so to your shoulder. If the sun is at your shoulder, you're looking this direction, it's going to polarize to the maximum. So this morning I've taken the polarizer off. I usually have it mounted to the Lee filter holder. So I've taken that off and I've mounted the 4-stop, bring that right down to the horizon. And generally what I do is I bring it down till I see the top of the horizon starting to darken. And then I just back it up a little bit. Then I know I've got it in the right position. Okay, let's just do an exposure there. Okay, that exposure looks great. Histogram looks good too. Let's just make a slight adjustment. Our cloud, as windy as this is here, our cloud seems to be staying in the same position. And the nice thing is, it's a diagonal line coming down from the top right corner, right down to the castle. I'm hoping that that's going to stay there right at sunrise. And these clouds will light up. A little bit about the exposure here. So when you're shooting right into the sun like this, it's very contrasty. Even with the 4-stop grad in place, I'm looking at the highlights and they're just peaking a little bit beyond the histogram. So in order to control that, you want to get as much information in there as possible. So even with the filter in place, I'm doing a 3-stop bracket. So I've gone to a 2-stop over, 1 neutral, and 2 stops under. So this is the exposure for my highlights. So I've retained that. That's the mid-tones. And there are my shadow details. So I'm making sure that I'm capturing as much information in the sky. I'm not blowing out these highlights on the horizon. And I'm capturing the shadow detail as well, which with this camera, with the 810 or the 850 rather, yeah, there's no problem with that. I'm capturing. I've done tests with this where I've underexposed it purposely by 3 stops and then recovered the shadow detail and there's no noise. I mean, this is such a brilliant camera. We have a few minutes before the sun rises here and the clouds are starting to pick up a little bit of color, which is great. Now, I use various apps to calculate exactly where the sun's going to rise on the horizon. Right here I'm using photo pills. I find photo pills is very good. But I like to keep technology as simple as possible, and I find that this is a little bit difficult to use at times, and especially when you're in a situation where you don't have a lot of time to mess around. I rely on my analog version. Keep it simple. This is flightlogistics.com. It's basically a compass with a chart on it. So if I set that to north, right about there, we're at the end of February, so the sun is going to come up exactly where those clouds now are being rim lit, just to the right hand side of the castle, which is going to be great. So what I'm going to try to do here, I'm going to get the light picking up on this, so we'll do 3 shots there. And as soon as the sun peaks the horizon, I want to get that sunburst. So I'm going to close the lens down to say f18 to 22 to accentuate that sunburst. Now I'm going to put my glove on because it's absolutely freezing here. The sun is just peeking over the horizon now. I need to do my exposures now. There we go. Okay, the minute that sun comes out, it's going to flare into the lens, and I think we're going to be pretty much done for the morning now. But what I've tried to do here is to show you how you can work with the conditions that you have. I mean, it's blowing a gale up here, probably 30-mile-an-hour gusts, and it is freezing. But trying to get as many different compositions from one little place, one little position. I don't really want to move around too much out of this sheltered area here, but also working with the conditions as they change. So being aware of where the sun's going to come up, being ready for that, that's an important aspect of landscape photography. Thanks for coming, and I will show you the final images in just a second.